Alright, tobacco. Such an amazing note. It's a top 5 note for me. And I've got the 12 tobacco fragrances for life video here for you. Find out about my 12 favorite tobacco fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian talking to you about tobacco. Do you enjoy this note? Again, it's one of my favorite notes. I especially love tobacco and fragrances if they're mixed in with sweeter notes. It's a nice contrast. The dirty, smoky, ashy tobacco against sweet, vanillic, honeyed notes, ambery notes. Awesome, awesome stuff. Absolutely love this combo. It's a favorite combo of mine, and as I said, I enjoy tobacco and fragrances, and it's a top 5 note for me. So let's get started with the countdown. It's not really ranked list, it's just 12 fragrances, 12 tobacco fragrances for life. The first fragrance is from the house of Tom Ford. It's Tobacco Vanille. I absolutely love Tobacco Vanille. It's definitely a favorite fragrance of mine from Tom Ford. I'm hoping for a Parfum or an Intense or whatever they're doing these days of this fragrance. I can't wait for that because I love the combination of tobacco here. It's a bit ashy, it's a bit smoky, and it's got a lot of vanilla with spices. So there's warm holiday-ish spices here. There's cacao, tonka, fruity notes, just a great concoction. Again, one of the best fragrances ever created from this house. Absolutely love this. Smells great, and I love the combo of the vanillic notes and the tobacco in this. So it's Tobacco Vanille from the house of Tom Ford. That's the first fragrance I'm talking about today. We're going to the house of CARON with TABAC EXQUIS. So here we have a little more of a gourmand edge with the tobacco here. It's warm spicy once again, but this time they've thrown in chocolate and cocoa. It's ambery in the dry down, and it's a bit smoky ashy with the tobacco here. Such an amazing fragrance. It's not as loud as the Tom Ford, but once you put your nose on it, if you love tobacco, oh man, it's good. You can pick up the chocolate, and the chocolate with the tobacco combo is fine. Super fine. So in this case, they're not using the vanilla with the Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. They're using chocolate. So it's a different take on something with a similar idea, and it smells super fantastic. So it's TABAC EXQUIS from the house of CARON. Let me know if you're familiar with that. I actually went through a whole 50 ml bottle. I love the stuff. I do sample a lot of fragrances, so I'm not wearing it as much now, but to me this is one of the best creations ever. Anyway, CARON's TABAC EXQUIS. But moving on to the house of GUERLAIN next, it's Tobacco Honey, and this time it's the combination of tobacco with honey, and this combo works great as well. So we had the vanilla and tobacco, we had the chocolate and tobacco, now we have the honey and tobacco. Great combinations. I love it when they mix the tobacco with these amazing gourmandesque notes, and here it works really great as well. It's honey, oud, vanilla, tobacco. There's tonka, sandalwood, and sesame. Loud, it's intense. I love it. It's not as loud as the Tom Ford still, but it's louder than the CARON. But even though the CARON is not as loud as these two, still it's such an amazing fragrance. But the GUERLAIN is also really great as well. And recently a friend said they don't like this fragrance because it's not necessarily Guerlain-esque. Doesn't have to be Guerlain-esque, does it? Always? It's a Guerlain creation. They released this fragrance. It smells great, and I love wearing it. So this is Tobacco Honey from the house of GUERLAIN. Let me know if you're familiar with that. This next one's from the house of SERGE LUTENS, and they have 3 tobacco fragrances. I've got videos on the channel. You can go catch those videos on the SERGE LUTENS. This is FUMERIE TURQUE. This is my favorite tobacco fragrance from this house. It's absolutely delicious. A bit animalic as well, and I love that about it. This is not a burnt, smoky, ashy tobacco. It's more leafy. There's a musky undertone here, and that's what I like about this one. It's tobacco, honey, suede, patchouli, tonka beans, vanilla. And once again, not as loud as the GUERLAIN or the Tom Ford. It's a bit closer to the skin like the CARON, but the combination is divine and it smells fantastic. Again, this is not as ashy like the previous 3 fragrances. It's a different kind of, it's like leafy as I said, but the smell is super divine. If you haven't tried this, please do. It is only coming in this bottle, and they always move things around at SERGE LUTENS. It keeps difficult to keep track of, but this is fantastic fragrance. Please do try it. It's definitely a tobacco fragrance for life. This next fragrance is from the house of ANGELOS Creations Olfactives. This is KARIKIA. Now I've spoken about this one a couple times. We actually featured this in a Scent Club kit, And this is so complex and overwhelming with the way the fragrance is created. It's so potent and dense. A little goes a long way with this one. It is a very long lasting fragrance. First of all, it's very smoky. It's almost like burned charred tobacco smoke, but under all that smoke there is some ambery touches and gourmandesque touches. So that's what you are waiting for. You're waiting for the smoke and fire of the tobacco to reveal its kind of gourmand side, and that's what's really cool about this fragrance, because once that happens you end up with something very delicious, still smoky and tobacco-ish as well, but still really wonderful. This is tobacco leaves, Bulgarian tobacco, beeswax, frankincense, acacia, oak wood, vanilla, and there's also like a hazelnut syrup here, and you know, like pancake syrup and things like that. It's definitely getting gourmand once the smokiness reveals, but the smokiness doesn't go away fully. It's definitely an artisanal creation, and just a little goes a long way. We featured this in a kit before, and I think a lot of folks ended up liking it, but it's definitely on the artisanal side, and also very potent. So that's Angelos Creations Olfactives. It's called KARIKIA. So the last fragrance mentioned that they used acacia, which is similar to mimosa, and this next fragrance utilizes mimosa for its honeyed touches. This is from the house of Maison Violet. It's En Air de Apogée. This one right here, one of my favorite tobacco fragrances, and it smells super amazing. I love this one. This one does have a bit more of an ashy tobacco experience, but in addition to the ashy tobacco experience, you've got hay here, suede, cashmeran, mimosa of course, iris, and leather, and there's no mention of honey here, and they're giving us a bit of a honeyed effect with that mimosa note. It's so good. Really nicely done. It's created by Nathalie Lorson, and she did such an amazing job with this fragrance. It smells amazing. It's a really great fragrance. It's kind of loud, but it doesn't have that denseness like the previous fragrance, the KARIKIA, and it's got great lingering power and just a really beautiful combo of the tobacco and the sweeter kind of notes and things like that. So this is En Air de Apogée from the house of Maison Violet. Let me know if you're familiar with that. But this next one happens to be my favorite fragrance from this house still to this day, when I first bought it in 2014. This is from the house of Parfums de Marly. It's Herod. Herod definitely is another fragrance that's amazing with the combination of sweeter notes with the tobacco, and I feel like I put this in the category of the less louder fragrance experiences in comparison, like to Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille and to the Guerlain Tobacco Honey. But I really love the way this fragrance smells and the way it's done. It's created by Olivier Pechot, who passed away, but he left us some amazing fragrances, including Herod, which happens to still be my favorite fragrance from Parfums de Marly. But this is cinnamony, it's vanillic, of course the tobacco, there's a bit of fruity, stone fruity touches from Osmanthus, and of course ambery and woody when it's drying down as well. Really wonderful offering. Herod from the house of Parfums de Marly. Really fun stuff. But this next one's from the house of AKRO. It's Smoke. Smoke is definitely my favorite fragrance from AKRO as well, and it's tobacco in the end. To me this smells like tobacco vanille a little bit, but it's uber smoky. In fact, you can layer these two together if you want your tobacco vanille to be smokier. I feel like they'll complement one another, because when smoke dries down, I do get a bit of a tobacco vanille vibe, but still that smoke lingers, but it's nicely blended when it's drying down with the sweeter resinous notes. But again, layer the two together and you'll make tobacco vanille smokier. But on its own, I feel like AKRO fragrances are thinner. They don't have a lot of depth to them, so it makes them easier to wear. And I was wearing this in the summertime when I first started wearing it, and it smelled great in the heat because everything just amplified and sweetened up and things like that. So it's a great fragrance with benzoin and tobacco. There's smoke here, Cade oil, and Tonka. Fantastic fragrance called Smoke from the house of AKRO. And then this next fragrance is from the house of Pierre Guillaume, and it's also a musky take on a tobacco fragrance. It's Animal Mondaine. I absolutely love this stuff. It reminds me of a designer tobacco fragrance from the house of Michael Kors, the first Michael Kors men's fragrance that came out in like 2001 or 2000, somewhere around there. But this is more of the animalic, musky take on a fragrance like that. But this is tobacco, there's honey, pear leaf, hay, mahogany, and something musky and animalic notes are in there. It's nicely blended. It's not overwhelming, but you'll notice it. It might come off a bit too much for someone that's not too used to the animalic, musky notes. But to me, I think it just works so wonderful. And the fragrance smells amazing. And it's tobacco once again with some sweeter honeyed notes thrown in together. Really great creation from the house of Pierre Guillaume. It's Animal Mondaine from the house of Pierre Guillaume. Alright, next up, going to a tobacco boozy fragrance, going to the house of Plume Impression. This is Royal Bourbon. Royal Bourbon is definitely my favorite fragrance from Plume Impression. And not only do we have tobacco here, we also have rum for booziness. So it's almost like you're in this library sipping on some rum or some kind of a spirit or liqueur or something and smoking a cigar. But it has spicy, warm notes and then fresh spicy notes, and of course, really nice combination of both the tobacco and the boozy notes together to create one intoxicating fragrance. Really fantastic. Does give me a warm holiday vibe here as well, but to me this is really, really nicely done. They did such a great job with creating this warm, spicy, tobacco, boozy fragrance with kind of a bit of a holiday vibe. Gives me a bit of a pumpkin spice vibe because there's cinnamon in here, but really super delicious. It's Royal Bourbon from the house of Plume Impression. This is probably going to surprise you guys, but this next one's from the house of Kilian. It's Smoking Hot. Yeah, I really, really love this one. Such a great fragrance. It's like a shisha tobacco experience with an overdose of apple fruitiness, and I like the contrast of that apple fruitiness in here. There's bourbon vanilla, orchinox, tobacco absolute, oak moss, and apples, and it's so super amazing to wear. It smells fantastic. Really love that juicy, drippy green apple note that's in here, contrasted with that kind of syrupy vanilla and the dirtiness of the tobacco in here. Nicely done. Really wears beautifully. Absolutely love the way it smells. It's a gourmand with a tobacco edge, fruity gourmand, but fantastic fragrance. I absolutely love it. I can't believe I loved like a few Kilian fragrances again. I think they, like I say, I always mention they have really great boozy gourmand fragrances, boozy or gourmand fragrances, and I would kind of categorize this into that kind of a category of either boozy or gourmand. Fantastic fragrance, Smoking Hot from the house of Kilian. And I'm ending the list with another Tom Ford. It's still on the market. You can still get it. Not necessarily from like your mass market department stores like Neiman's or something, but it's at the discounters. This is Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud. So we had Tobacco Vanille, and we started with Tobacco Vanille and we're ending with Tobacco Oud. So different fragrances between the two tobacco fragrances. The Tobacco Oud is on the dirty side. It's sweaty, it's kind of animalic, it's dirty. It's like the dirtiest of dirty ashtrays of tobacco, and in addition to like whiskey and spices and and notes like that. But this so good. Like one of the best Tom Ford fragrances ever created. It's an amazing fragrance. It's not for the faint of heart because it does have those kind of dirty, ashy, slight animalic, sweaty touches, but once you get past that, you'll really experience an amazing dirty tobacco fragrance with slight booziness and of course sweatiness there. It's a great fragrance, guys. I think if you like a bit of daring fragrances, there's a lot of stock out there. I'm seeing it online at the discounters like FragranceNet. I have this linked in the info box. Get your bottle, because I don't know how long this is going to be around. I feel like when I saw a Tom Ford rep once, I bumped into them at Neiman's, they said this is not selling in the States, but it's selling overseas, like in places like, London and Europe, because they like fragrances like this more than the Americans do, and I feel like that's the overstock there that's ended up at the discounters. So I don't know how long this will be around. Get it if you are looking for a bottle. It's one of the best tobacco fragrances ever, and I'm happy to be starting my list off with a Tom Ford and ending my list off with a Tom Ford because they have two of the best tobacco fragrances out there, and definitely both of them are for tobacco fragrances for life. I know there's a bunch of stuff left off. You're probably wondering, why did I leave them off? This is what I'm feeling now, guys. These are what I'm really enjoying. Yeah, there's others out there that I've spoken about. I'm not feeling those right now. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I would want to be stranded somewhere with just 12 of these tobacco fragrances because I'm enjoying them the most. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances yourself. Do you enjoy these fragrances or do you hate them? Or is there another tobacco fragrance that you would consider a tobacco fragrance for life? Add a comment in the info box, or I should say in the comment section. And thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.